Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com. I guess I can't help myself. We've got to, delve into some more AI topics here today with Windows and the shenanigans going over on that side of the fence, Steve. But before we get into that, I've got a little coda from last week's discussion of Netflix taking over Warner Brothers with Paramount's David Ellison, pitching to the Warner stockholders, the old hostile takeover bid. He's keen. He's wanting to get in there. He's claiming that, he's being shut out. That there was some unfavorable sort of treatment for him. That Netflix got the favorable treatment, etc., and that they've got the better deal because they can come in and they've got more a bigger bid and all of that, which I find kind of curious because wasn't that last round of bids meant to be their best bid? So why wouldn't you put the best bid in at that point? Anyway, to me, this is just more corporate shenanigans, and it's just like, well, where's this going to end up? It's just, Hollywood being turned into a legacy archive at this point.
That's it, and it ain't Larry's first rodeo anyway. So I think he knows enough about what he's doing.
Exactly, he just has to go and have a chat to his buddy in the White House, and all will be good. Which will be an interesting thing to watch, just from an entertainment, pardon the pun, point of view. That if Trump decides to insert himself into this as well, and just how stirring that entire pot and how it'll all go. I can't imagine Netflix going down without a fight as well.
No, not at all. I think there's no question at all that there's politics involved and there's Trump involved, and that instantly that makes for compulsive viewing.
Absolutely. Maybe they'll make a film out of it at some point later down the track, when all of the studios converge into one mega studio. Alrighty. So, okay, well, we've had a bit of fun with that. But so let's turn our attention, our ire, I guess, for lack of a better term, to what Microsoft's been recently announcing with Windows, and I want to also touch on the Power Platform and a couple of other things as well. But this idea that they're throwing around that they're going to turn Windows into an Agentic OS, essentially embedding AI into Windows itself so that it can do stuff for you. Now, I kind of find this amusing because I would have thought with some basic training that when Windows pops up, you can navigate the apps in there, you can interact with the apps in there. Why do you need an additional layer thrown in there of an assistant to help you do those things? Obviously the commentary on forums and etc. hasn't exactly been stellar, shall we say, from the idea that users are not taking to this at all. Because it's kind of fundamentally messing with the actual experience of using Windows itself. There's a whole other argument about, well, they're not really doing it for the users, they're doing it for their cloud and AI interests that seem to serve the shareholders' bottom line. So it doesn't really matter if Windows, is kind of messed up in this way, for lack of a better term. But we're going to return to this, I'm sure, a couple of times during this episode, but it just seems to me to be, the old adage of a solution in search of a problem, and that problem doesn't actually exist at all, but we're going to give you the solution.
Well, yeah. Look, Windows is famous for adding features that no one wants, and changing. How many versions? We're up to Windows 11. I think you can count on less than one hand how many versions were actually ones that pleased the crowd. Not to mention they even had versions they never bothered releasing, pretty much. Like whatever happened to Windows 9? So this is just another Windows iteration. As you said, somebody's had a good idea about the way they can incorporate AI. Everyone's expecting AI to be front and center of any interface at the moment. You guys will work out how to use it. we're just going to jam it in your face.
Which I find interesting only because obviously Windows 10 went out of support in October, and I've seen a lot of discussion online around how, I mean, before you start even talking about the AI components, that, there's a whole lot of hardware that could actually run Windows 11, but they've artificially restricted it because of certain hardware requirements that Microsoft's put in. So, you could have like a 4-year-old, 5-year-old laptop that potentially could run Windows 11, but can't because it doesn't in particular have that TPM2 module or whatever it is that it's required. Then you have all this sort of discussion around what Windows 11 is potentially turning into. And you get the reaction of, well, maybe I don't need to buy another laptop. Maybe I could just chuck Linux on it, or worse still, go over to the dark side and pick up a MacBook. For instance, like one of the things that I have noticed, which, obviously Apple's touted this forever, is that they don't have ads on their platform. And, seeing ads sneak into Windows is disturbing. Like when you click on the search icon and you've got a whole bunch of stuff. The worst iteration, I think, is in the widgets tab. I think on Windows 11, I've just got that permanently switched off on any installation that I've got, because it's just got so full of rubbish. And you just sit there and you're like, well, it's almost like how old PCs, used to get, all this random software installed that you'd probably had to get rid of just to make the computer functional. And now it's being built into Microsoft's, famous operating system that everyone knows and uses, and throwing AI agents into the mix. I don't need Clippy to be sitting there on the side helping me out,
You certainly don't need to go back to Clippy, that's for sure. But I think there's an extra layer here, because you're not just dealing with Windows. If you're using Microsoft Office beneath that, I mean, they're made by the same company. They interact in a bundle of ways that you might not want them to, which means that Microsoft, if you're using Office for work, and let's face it, most of us do, Microsoft can basically stick its hand through the operating system and do what it wants on your screen, and I think that's the real issue. We already get controlled content or AI served content to us in every search. Most of us are using AI. Let's face it, there's no such thing as a real Google review anymore. There's just, content served up to make you feel good about your imminent purchase. So people want to have some control, I think, over their machines. And as soon as you stick AI all the way through it and open the door to solutions without you necessarily accessing them on your own volition, then I think, you're always going to get a bit of pushback.
Absolutely. But it doesn't just stop there with Windows. I did want to touch on also the Microsoft Power Platform, and we can talk about the future of coding, I guess, in a way, in this particular sense. Now, I did do the Power Platform, the Power Up program, I think it was called, last year, and it's actually quite good. You can go in and it's a good way to, engage with the platform, code apps in a very low code environment. It might still go over some people's heads, but it's low code enough that if you're interested and want to learn it, you can actually get into, it's a low form of coding, I guess, for lack of a better term. And it's really good for developing some pretty useful apps that you would want to use, and particularly because they've got connections into SharePoint and all that sort of thing. But it was when I saw the most recent update to the Power Platform that I had to go, oh, here we go again. And it was like the same reaction to, this Agentic OS business in Windows 11. And they've put, they're claiming that they're going to have these AI agents that are going to be they're going to be sitting there and they're going to be helping you out. They're going to code everything for you. So all you really have to learn through this program now is how to use these agents to actually code it for you, let alone that you don't actually know what they're doing. You don't know where something might have screwed up. You don't have the confidence to actually modify it because you don't actually know how it's done the code, which you would if you had done it yourself. And it's like a dumbing down of that actual skill. And that's, I think, something more broadly that we're talking about coding apps here, but I think it applies to so many things that AI is being used for here. Referencing that article about this guy that went all in on AI to use basically to use Claude to try and code his app from start to finish. And this guy is a coder, and he is admitting that he's lost confidence in the ability to actually code by using AI because he doesn't know what the code is, how to modify it if he needed to, etc. And he points out that it's almost like systemic laziness that's being introduced into everyone's lives. And I don't know if, I'm broadening this out, like you can feel free to comment on all of it, but it's almost like this, I almost feel like this is the crux of the issue with AI, is that it's taking away, and we've said it before, it's taking away agency, it's taking away laziness. People are choosing to do that, obviously, by using these tools in this way, but I feel like that it's almost running away with itself. Obviously these tech companies are just pushing this down our throats so much. Chuck AI into everything, even into a Power Platform for coding very simple apps, and now you won't know how to do it, really, other than knowing how to sign into the Power Up platform, and Clippy's there to take your instructions for coding the app.
Yeah, well, it's one of these quandaries that humans just get themselves into with technology, and at some point somebody's got to start paying the bills for AI, right? We all know that AI is just costing a lot of money and promising a lot. So the easiest way is to start forcing it down our throat and just hope that somebody starts paying, anybody starts paying. That's the first issue, I think, around this. The second is that, exactly as you say, it forces a reliance or an expectation that you can rely on AI. Not use it as a tool anymore. Actually, AI will do the job for you. And that is the mantra that they're trying to sell AI with. But as this article points out, and it's a very good article, which I would encourage everyone to read, it just, there's really big risks. We're not talking about AI taking over the world or anything like that. We're talking about humans really putting themselves in positions where they're clueless and helpless when it comes to the work that they're doing. So you can extend this. I mean, he makes a great case for the fact that he got Claude to write all the code, so when there was a problem, he didn't even know where to start looking in that code to fix the problem. You think about it now, if you just get AI to write all your reports, after a while you won't be able to spot the errors, and you'll just read it, you'll skim it, that looks about right, and you'll present it. And we're already, of course, we've seen legal references that are just been made up by AI and skimmed over because everything looked right. This is a very dangerous situation for all of us, not just if you're in tech or legal situations. If you're just writing a report or you're doing a desktop sort of investigation into something, you can easily miss something that you needed to see and present it as fact. And then, of course, that in itself may be a small risk to you personally, but if that then is consumed at a corporate level and then this misrepresentation becomes a fact at the corporate level and everyone carries on or makes decisions in the belief that something is in a way which it in reality isn't, then before long you find yourself way off course.
Well, on that note, I think we might wrap it up there. And, I'm just feeling, I'm so looking forward to the $200 a month subscription fees that we're going to have to pay to get every single version of AI that's out there. Because just like, we have every streaming service we need to subscribe for, we're going to need agentic AI agents for everything. And we need them for different purposes, and we need to be spending $500 a month on it.
Oh, absolutely. But first thing I'll be doing is finding me some Agentic AI, which tells me how I can get the same services for free.
Absolutely. A DuckDuckGo agent, AI. Absolutely. Alrighty, so that's it for this week's episode. We'll catch you next time.